Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Saratoga Podcast. I'm Dan DeFedericis, publisher of Saratoga Report. I'm here once again with Adam Israel. At this point, it's just the two of us. Robin Dalton is going to try and join us. She's currently in the Adirondacks, which of course means limited cell and Wi-Fi coverage. So she's going to try and join us midstream here. Adam, how you doing this crisp, cold? Wow, it was like 41 degrees this morning, but still a beautiful week overall. How you doing?
Yeah, great. It was good. We got the gas. If it was my choice, it'd be a wood fireplace, but we got the gas fireplace fired up this morning. Had a couple of hiccups in it after being dormant for some months, but it was cool. It was nice. It's weather. I love the heat, but I somebody loves the cold too, and I certainly love fall. So looking forward to the season of pumpkin everything.
That's great. And I like. What I love about the gas fireplaces is it's instantaneous with a remote control.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Remote control doesn't have batteries, which we navigated that hurdle today. So anyway, there was no city. Oh,
look at this. We've got Robin Dalton and with a clear connection. Robin, we can actually see you this time.
I'm shocked but delighted. I am currently up in Camp I can never pronounce it. Waukpanami. With the Lake Avenue 5th grade, chaperoning their week in the woods. But I didn't want to miss the podcast. I just had to jump in the car and drive like literally a minute and a half down the road to get 2 bars of service. So here I am.
Okay. And if you zone in and out, people will know why.
Yes. It's the woods, people. It's the woods.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about?
Well, Rob, I want to know if Dan, I don't know how 2 years ago, how closely you were watching politics. I felt 2 years ago, this time it was, we see politics pop up every now and again, but was it just we were so closely involved, Robin, or do you still get that feeling that this, maybe it's not the Republicans don't have a full slate, but there's not the wild politicking going on like I feel there was 2 years ago?
Oh, I definitely think it has to do with the lack of candidates. I mean, the last cycle, we had a record number of candidates running on a record. I don't know if it was a record number of lines, but we had all these independent lines and we had a record number of candidates. And now we only have, 2 of the city council people being challenged, one of whom isn't even, I guess it's still a significant challenge, the mayor and the public safety commissioner. And so I think there isn't nearly the level of excitement. And on the Republican side, they don't have anything near a full slate. So I think it's a pretty natural thing that there isn't the excitement. I think for someone like me, it's a bummer because I love the kind of excitement of campaign season. And I can see some of the candidates trying to cook up some earned media and come out with a few headlines, but I don't think they've really taken so far. So, yeah, I don't think it's the same level of frenzy that it was last year. Not at all.
If you recall, we had at least one candidate getting investigated for criminal charges ultimately that were founded, and there was a guilty plea out of it at the end. That was wild. Yes. So you're right. There's it's been a much quieter campaign season, Adam.
I believe I was accused by the Republican Party by orchestrating that investigation, which was garbage, obviously. I don't know if you remember that whole. It was a very controversial election cycle. Let's leave it at that.
Yes, and much more energy with all the campaigns and stuff going on. There's been a lull this week. Less than 6 weeks to go, and knock on wood, it's been, it wasn't quiet a week and a half ago, but so far this week, not much happening. Granted, there's a lot to go, but I sort of expected it to be a sprint at one point, and I thought that point would have come already, and it hasn't hit. So that tells me next week could be the beginning of the spirited frenzy to the finish line.
Well, let's talk about the races for a second, because I think there's kind of some easy explanations as to why. You have the mayor's race, right, which is Ron Kim, John Safford, and Chris Matthiessen. Chris Matthiessen lost the primary, and so he only has the one Saratoga independent line. So he's, for all intents and purposes, out of the running in terms of being a true competitor and really having a true path to victory. He could affect the election, no doubt, but I don't think that the numbers are there for him to pull off a win with just an independent line. And then you have John Safford, who is a quality candidate, but we know he's run for office several times before. And so he's not a candidate who is new, fresh, and necessarily generates excitement. Or my guess is, if you're Ron Kim isn't feeling particularly threatened by him. And maybe he's naive and not feeling threatened by him. But one way or the other, my guess is the Democrats don't see John Safford as a particular threat to Ron Kim's mayoral chances. So not a race in which, there's like heated competition, or it's being perceived as heated competition, I would say. And then,
Democrats do a good job of kind of following down the craziness at City Hall. For the first year and a half, there was just, every other city council meeting, there was a lot to talk about, a lot of, some really nutty things going on, a lot of bold decisions by the city council that a lot of times didn't pay off, or just, that left a lot of people head scratching. So going back to the race for mayor, it comes down to, can Chris Matthiessen affect the race as a Democrat, affect the race enough to get somebody like John Safford over? Are the voters of Saratoga, are they going to vote for Mayor Kim and kind of what he's done in his first term, or are they going to reject some of the antics that's gone on? We'll see. But you're right. It seems like the Democrats and the mayor line just running a cool, straight campaign seems to be the strategy.
Yeah.
John Safford. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, Robin, I agree with both of you. It seems like Ron Kim is taking the approach that it's mine to lose, and he might be right. The numbers just work in his favor,
He is right.
despite several missteps and really bizarre actions at times. What I will say about both Chris Matthiessen and John Safford is, the more you talk to them, the more they're likable, and I want to see them have I want to see this campaign play through with some ideas. I wish we had more actual debates as opposed to more candidate forums. But I really like both of them, and I criticized Chris Matthiessen during the primary campaign, publicly so, and said his campaign wasn't there. And I'm starting to see some things out of him. Let me acknowledge he is advertising on my site, but I'm seeing things independently of that as well. So I'm starting to see some signs that he has a thoughtful campaign with some issues-based thing going on, and I hope that continues, just for the value of having a choice in the election of all candidates. And John Safford, he's a fellow Buffalonian. We're both from Buffalo, and I can't help but like the guy, and he's got a great resume as well. So I'm hoping we have some really we do have solid choices, at least two of them, but I'm hoping it's clear at the end of the campaign.
I think a great idea, Dan DeFedericis, if you're up for it, would be, I would love to see a town hall style event where there are some questions that are asked by a moderator to the candidates and some questions that are asked by people in the audience. I think that would be a really interesting format for Saratoga. I think it would be engaging, and I think it would be informative in a way that, say, the League of Women Voter panel isn't. And, I suspect we're not going to have a Saratoga Today debate. I haven't heard anything about one. And so we're just going to have the League of Women Voter forum, which is actually, I think they call them a Meet the Candidate forum. So they're really not, part of the rules that the League of Women Voters has in these forums is that you're not allowed to attack the other candidate or say anything negative about the other candidate. You're only meant to talk about your campaign. And
what
so
fun
it's
is that?
It's so, I'm like, listen, I mean, if it were me, I'm like, listen, this is politics. Put on your big boy pants, put on your boxing gloves, and let them have at it. You know what I mean? It's freaking politics. You can't
to
say
some
anything
degree, yeah.
You can't say anything negative about the person you're running against. Come on, give me a break. Anyway, that's just me. But I think a town hall style event could be really awesome if someone could pull it off.
Well, why can't we?
I think we should do it. I mean, I would love to. I think it'd be great.
I'll tell you right now, if I'm Ron Kim, I don't take that.
But what if his two opponents show up? And Ron, I've criticized Ron, me personally, and I think I know the two of you well. We will vow publicly to try our damnedest to be fair to all candidates, and we all have our internal biases, the three of us, but we'd have to put our objective hat on and be fair to all candidates.
Except for Benita. I'm going after her in a debate.
Who?
He's joking. So one of the things that I think that didn't happen in the Saratoga Today debate that kind of shocked me, and I think is one of the things that is paramount to having a fair debate, is asking the same question of all the candidates, which is something that didn't happen in the Saratoga Today debate, which kind of like blew my mind. So, things like that would obviously be in place, but also audience questions, to me, that's as like organic and authentic as you can get, soliciting community members to come and, giving them the opportunity to ask the candidates a question directly. And I also think that, Ron has actually, I know, whether I agree or disagree, he has a long list of accomplishments that he touts in his campaign materials. And so I think from his perspective, he has a lot to be proud of. And so why wouldn't he want to sit down in a town hall event and talk about all the things he's accomplished in the last year and a half and why he wants to continue that record of accomplishment for the next 2 years? I mean, I think it would be foolish not to waste that opportunity. And I also think there's nothing looks worse than skipping an event like that your opponents decide to go to.
Well,
so anyway.
Well stated, Robin. I heard some of that you chopped off, but most of that came through. And you're right. Ron Kim does have a record to run on, and he would tout that it's a good record. And in many ways, or certain ways anyway, I would agree with that.
All right.
Certainly.
Let's jump in here. Let's talk about, we've kind of gone around with this mayor race. Let's talk about public safety.
Yeah.
The race.
So public safety, I think one of the reasons we're not seeing as much kind of excitement and enthusiasm or buzz about public safety is that Jim Montagnino really isn't running a campaign.
That was my question. I was going to ask that, Robin.
There's virtually no campaign. So last time around, he self-funded. He's self-funding. If he runs any kind of campaign again this time, he is also self-funding. He said that publicly. And so he's not going to be having fundraisers. I have not seen a single lawn sign. I don't know if he's doing lawn signs. There doesn't appear to be any campaign that's being run. And so when the incumbent isn't running a campaign, it inherently makes for a less exciting race. And then you've got the independent candidate who is obviously running an active campaign, but, I'm sure on a somewhat limited budget. And because there's always, Adam, as you know, challenges to being the independent candidate and not having the full backing of a committee to support you with events and money and whatnot. And then you have Tim Cole out there who does seem to be running a fairly comprehensive campaign. But again, without the incumbent doing the same, you're kind of just shouting into the wind in a sense.
Everything you said, I agree with that. That makes sense. I think all three of us would agree. And again, we've acknowledged on here, at least Ab and I, that we're Tim Cole's supporters. So we'd like to see him win. But it seems like he is the strongest candidate as far as both. To me, I would argue resume, but also the campaign looks the strongest. His signs are everywhere. He's out there campaigning. I know that for a fact, door to door, which is sometimes always the difference maker. Not sometimes, just about always. So it seems like he is trending upward.
I know Kristen is as well, though. I mean, I know Kristen is walking and knocking, and her signs are up, and not as many.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Let me say that.
I would say she has the back of the committee Democratic Party here and all their resources and power, and they're they stood by her and propped her up for a news conference where she essentially said Tim Cole was imprisoning. But she's out there. I think she's running a campaign. I think she's going to be a great litmus test of as we've seen in the city, and especially in the last 2 years in the elections, that the committee Dems can do no wrong as far as winning elections, and they're really running somebody without the now we can see, is the magic that Dem line, or is the magic in the ability to organize of the committee Dems? And this is going to be a great kind of litmus test to see. It's like when Brady went to Tampa Bay. Was it Belichick winning all those? Was it Brady? Was it Belichick and Brady? And I think we found it was a little more Brady than Belichick. And I think we'll see the same with the power of either the Democratic committee or the Democratic line, and what really holds the power here.
So are you saying Kristen could be Mac Jones?
Kristen could be Mac Jones there. With the.
I'm conflating my metaphors, but I just want to clarify that Kristen definitely does have the support of a large majority of the Democratic committee, but I'm not sure she has the full financial backing of them if she's not their endorsed candidate. So there might be a caveat there. Like, I'm not sure if they're funneling money and support to her.
No, and in fact, they got $1,000 to Jim Montagnino, which again, I've never really been involved with party politics, so that does seem weird to me. But the people I know, and the people who are the most vocal, and the people who are out the most on working for the Democratic committee are the ones supporting Kristen. So maybe she doesn't have the full support of the full Democratic committee, but the key players seem to be backing her and propping her up and helping her with her campaign. on her.
Certainly the city council is, right?
I was
just
going to say, the city council clearly wants to see her in that seat. That is very clear. But I know Kristen well enough to say that she takes politics very seriously, and I can't imagine her ever running for office and not campaigning, like textbook, the way you should campaign, and putting her whole effort and heart into it. And so that's what I see her doing, and I think it's really impressive given the situation she's in. It's a tough three-way race, and I think she's doing a really good job with the hand she's been dealt. But anyway, again, without an incumbent though fighting back, I mean, there's just not going to be a lot of buzz if you don't have an opponent who's putting their boxing gloves on.
So the third, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I was just going to go into the third race.
Yep, go for it.
So the third race is for county supervisor, and county supervisor races are always kind of slightly lower profile. People in the city of Saratoga Springs are super into politics at the city council table. They're really removed, though, from what happens at the county board of supervisors, which is kind of a shame, because the county board of supervisors, they spend their budget, just so you guys know, is $1 million a day. So they have a huge amount of money, huge decisions are made there, but they are really removed from the city, and so they're just inherently less high profile. And there are 3 people running, and you can vote for 2. And so you have 2 Democrats, Gordon Boyd, who's the endorsed Democrat by the Democratic Committee, Michelle Madigan, who's also a Democrat, who's running on the Democratic line and the One Saratoga line. And then you have Matt Veach, who's running on the Republican line and the One Saratoga line, who's running, I believe, a supervisor for 14 years. So this would be his 15th and 16th year, I believe, if he won. Gordon Boyd is new. Commissioner Michelle Madigan was our Commissioner of Finance for 10 years. This is her first go-around as County Board of Supervisors. But it's typically, there's actually 2 people on both sides, like both slates, the Dems and the Republicans, running for these positions.
Total,
there's usually 4. So 3 is unusual. And again, it just doesn't get as much traction and as much excitement as the city council positions. And as I mentioned before, some candidates I know are trying to get some attention and get some earned media. I know Gordon is trying his very hardest to get something going, and he's been trying for a couple months, and I'm not seeing anything really land. But again, that's the third race. So that's all we got, folks.
Let me ask a question that's really 8 months old, and this has probably been answered 8 months ago, but I want to be reminded how this came to be.
Is it mine?
How is it? What?
Is it mine?
Is it yours? No. How is it that Michelle Madigan is not? If they could endorse 2, why is it that they only endorse Gordon Boyd and not Michelle?
Because they're so goddamn stupid, this committee. That's why. That's the honest answer why.
Okay, so, but a little insight. Come on, give a little insight.
I'll give you the technical answer. No, Adam, let me give the historical answer, for real. So in 2019, Michelle Madigan was running for Commissioner of Finance. It would have been her 10th term, and she was endorsed by the Democratic Committee, but then Patty Morrison primaried her that June. She lost the primary by, 90 votes or something to Patty Morrison that June. So they were put in a really difficult position where their endorsed candidate, they'd already endorsed her, lost the primary. And so the Democratic Committee and the county Democratic chair were like, well, we have, there's nothing we can do here. We have to support the person who won the primary. And so the leadership of the county leadership and a portion of the Democratic Committee was like, well, we've got to support the primary winner. We're going to support Patty Morrison. Well, there was another faction of the Democratic Committee, including the chairperson at the time, who did not believe in Patty Morrison as a candidate and who believed in the incumbent and who thought that was just wrong. And so they made a very dramatic and bold move, and they left the committee. A large group of Democrats, who are primarily moderate Democrats, left the committee to support Michelle as she ran for Commissioner of Finance with the Independence Party and a few other ballot lines. And so what they left, though, was kind of a void on this committee that was filled with people who are further to the left and a bit more progressive, but also a lot of people who still have a bad taste in their mouth about Michelle Madigan from 2019 and really don't want to give her a chance to run for office or to give her an endorsement. And so when this election cycle rolled around, they didn't, at first, they weren't even going to give her an opportunity to interview with the committee. And she had to fight tooth and nail just to have an interview with the committee. And then, in my opinion, they were very short-sighted and didn't endorse her. But that's why. It's because of that history. That's why it didn't happen.
But here's my question. Can't anyone with a nomination in a second put it up for a vote to endorse her? I'm surprised she didn't have, if that's the case, why, I'm surprised she didn't have one on there to push that issue. I mean, but I don't know the rules of the committee.
She wouldn't have had the majority votes, I think, of the committee as the makeup is right now.
But that would have been like an affirmative stance on them that we're endorsing nobody for that second position. That would have put them in a spot anyway. I'm just curious about that. That's fine. You've covered it well. Thanks.
It's just silly, though. I mean, if you have two Democrats and you have two spots to have two Democrats run for this position, why not endorse the two Democrats who are interested in doing it? It just doesn't make any sense. Silly.
The issue I have too is I 2 years ago I didn't know Michelle, and I got to know her because I ran for her position, and she was a great commissioner in the sense that of all candidates she was open to. She wanted to inform the candidates as much as she could. So I spent as much time as I could picking her brain and getting to know her. It's not like you can point to her and say, well, she is pro-life or she's pro-Second Amendment. I mean, there's nothing you can point to her and say, why would Democrats not endorse her? That's what blows my mind, is that this is just an ego. From the outside, this is just a pure ego. How dare she cross them or do something that they didn't like, and they're going to show her. And they're
small town politics.
What's that?
Small town politics.
Small town politics. And now, you know what? Now she's on the Democrat line. She's there anyway, whether they endorse her or not. She's most likely going to win due to the fact that she's in the middle, right? So there's three votes. There's three people, two votes. You're going to vote the middle and the left or the middle right. Most people aren't going to vote for the Democrat and the Republican. So she's going to be in there, and now she's beholden to no party, and so good for her.
And I might add, she has been campaigning saying that she wants to be on the county board of supervisors with Matt Veach.
Right.
And if she, and I can't, this is just me purely speculating, but had she been the endorsed Democratic candidate, my guess is she wouldn't be actively campaigning to be elected with the Republican endorsed candidate. So I think they blew it there.
They forced her into that position to a degree, and they allowed it, right? But by not endorsing her, she was open to say, okay, I'm going to do what I got to do.
Exactly.
This comes out about too. It's the power of this committee and the power they think they have, and in this case, they might. Where they're running Gordon Boyd, a very progressive left-leaning individual, who he's going up against somebody on the Democratic line, and then a Republican who's been there for 12 years. So can he unseat this Republican who's been there? Did the committee have this much power now just to literally knock off Republicans left and right? So this is going to be another litmus test of just the power of this committee and in their decision making and their power over the city.
You know what I have to say? I got a little chuckle out of. So Gordon Boyd has been one of the first people who they had kind of this like a little kind of a ragtag press conference at the track about the backstretch workers unionizing, and Gordon Boyd has been a big proponent of that. And I kind of think that's a terrible idea, but conversation for another time. And then, talking about who's the most like Democrat of all the Democraties and the endorsed Democrat versus the non-endorsed Democrat. Well, Michelle Madigan just got endorsed by all the labor unions and the Labor Council. Gordon Boyd did not. And I think that's really, really interesting.
A lot of a lot of virtue signaling and lip moving, but not a lot of action there. Yeah,
exactly.
Gordon had his drunks with guns thing, and then Jim Montanino kind of took it, and now latching onto this unionize the backstretch workers and again, he was at the Cafe Lena event where they, where it was a very political event that Cafe Lena had later apologized for. I mean, he's really pushing the left here to try to get into the city politics, but we'll see.
In
But was
fairness
he
to
being
Gordon, I don't
pragmatic?
think you can assume something because he was there because he didn't speak out. I don't think that's right to assume something because he appeared.
Good
You know,
point.
because he was
Good point.
in the audience in essence. I think I don't think he was part of it.
That's
Right.
that's very pragmatic of you, Dan. Sorry, sorry, you guys. That's Gordon's tagline, and when I saw his tagline, I kind of chuckled because Gordon has always struck me as someone who needs to feel like he's the smartest guy in the room.
And then
And
yeah, jump into what Dan said.
so I was just going to say, Gordon's always struck me as someone who needs to feel like the smartest guy in the room. And to use the word pragmatic in a local political tagline, I'm just telling you, 75% of the voting electorate doesn't know what that word means. And he probably knows that, but he just had to put it in there because he got it, you know, he needs to sound like the smartest guy in the room. I don't know. This is my teasing. But anyway.
This is my issue, Dan, with what you said, is that, and we saw this at the school board race. If you are right or more conservative than the far left in this city, if you had a phone call one time with somebody who knew somebody who once walked past Donald Trump, or who, they make these connections that are just insane, right? The far left and their water carrier Wendy from the Times Union. They will connect you if there's any dots at all that somehow you're connected to any kind of right-wing MAGA crazy shit. They have no problem doing that. So the fact that he was there, I'm going to connect him to this far left.
But two wrongs don't make a right.
I agree.
Set the standard.
No,
I agree.
I'm not saying that you said his brother was there. I'm saying he was there.
But he was only there. I almost was there. I couldn't make it.
Let me just say one thing.
So it's a propaganda film. If you go see it,
but let me just say one thing. Kathy and Lena, this was back in 2019, hosted an event about race and policing, and it devolved into it was crazy. But I'm guessing it was a similar crowd to the crowd that went to this last event that they had. I went to this race and policing event. I was odd man out in the crowd. Let me tell you, odd man out in the crowd. But if you knew that I had attended and you just assumed from my attendance that I was supporting the topics that were being discussed, that would be totally unfair. And so I think we should not do the same thing for Gordon in this instance.
Yeah, I will say, Adam, you're probably correct, but
yeah, you probably
knows.
are. But
without him speaking out, nobody knows. And I think it's fair to say, to at least qualify your statement that I don't exactly know, but I suspect the reason he was there, boom, 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 is my view. Listen, I think let me. I'm going a little bit off on a tangent here, but AOC. Ocasio Cortez, the congresswoman from New York City that the right just absolutely hates, she came out, and others did as well, and spoke out against the New Jersey senator that's under facing
Menendez.
Yes, thank you. And that's her own party, and others have done it as well. More of that has to happen. I'd like to see some across the board
from the Republicans about their own party. You mean people on their own party?
Both sides, all sides. Yes.
Like George Santos, who's indicted, and they still are kind of okay with showing up to work.
Yes.
The fun is now Republicans have to double down on their supporting criminals because they've done it. They can't seem like hypocrites. And the support of the senator from Menendez from New Jersey doesn't really hurt or help him. So now, pardon me, he's getting a lot of Republican support saying they should wait for trial. And it's just I've always said the national Republicans are just batshit crazy, the party, and what they do. And it's not hilarious. It's sad because it's my party and I want them to do the right thing. But to see them double down on this, well, we should, innocent until proven guilty. He has $500,000 in gold bars under his bed. It's just nonsense.
The Santos thing is what really shocks me, that he still has any level of support.
I know, but I just don't know. When I heard Menendez's explanation for having all that cash in his house, I was like, oh yeah, okay. All right, yeah, sure. Like I totally was like, yeah, that makes sense. Because I'm so goddamn naive. But then obviously, like I thought about it, I was listening to all the commentators and I was like, yeah, that's kind of crazy. I don't know what I was thinking. Like he's not, because he came from Cuba, he's been taking out thousands of dollars like every few weeks. No, that doesn't really track actually.
The thing is, this is black and white almost. This is it's not like he said I went to the track and I won $100 a day for the last 10 years. If he's really going to the bank and making these withdrawals, there'll be evidence of that.
Oh,
it reminded me of Billions. I don't know if you guys watch Billions, but there's like a scene in Billions where he's like fleeing and he goes to take his like gold bars out of his house. Anyway,
Federal prosecutors have a 94% conviction rate. Look
yeah,
out.
better to plead than fight. Can I switch topics for a minute? Unless
Yes.
you guys have more political stuff. I wanted to do a quick pivot into business, some local business news, because I was kind of shocked, but I guess happy when I saw this. So PBT Market has been kind of like on our minds, my mind. I know, Dan, you and I text about it a lot, because PBT Market, for most of you guys who watch this or who live in Saratoga know, they took over the former Price Chopper space downtown, opened up a really fancy, beautiful space, but kind of, it was kind of a little bit worrisome in that we weren't seeing a lot of people in there, and I was thinking the problem was maybe that they were trying to kind of offer everything to everyone. It was a caterer, it was a bar, it was a florist, there was some home stuff there, there was some gourmet grocery shopping there. It was
everything was expensive.
It was wicked expensive. I've actually
Yeah.
never spent so much money in my life. So anyway, initially there was a lot of crowds, but then it really seemed to taper off. I was getting really nervous about their health as a business, because I never want to see any business fail, but especially a business that sizable, that is that high profile in our downtown. So I was on Instagram last night, and I happened to see that they have completely rebranded as Franklin Square Market. And it seems that they have really focused in on being a local market, and just a local market. With kind of my reading through the lines here is that it's going to be affordable, convenient, and it read like it was going to be almost like the Price Chopper that was in there, to be honest with you.
I was just there, Robin. So sorry, you just disappeared on us. I was just there an hour ago after you and I spoke this morning.
Oh, describe. I want to hear.
Well, first of all, let me go back a little bit. PDT Market, when it first opened, had a really lively, vibrant, fresh feel. Then it just started getting downhill to the point that it felt morbid in there. There was like very few customers and so forth. Even track season didn't change it at all. And now today, oh my God, the energy is there, the vibrancy is there, and it is. You're right, Robin. You described it well. It's a completely changed market. They have shelves full of everyday items with brand names you recognize, so you're not paying double for a ketchup. And I'm sure they still have some options, because I only did a swing through, bought a couple of pieces of fruit, and I'm sure they have some higher end options still. But they had an entire row of just like potato chips and a white cheddar popcorn type thing that, like, if you're going to a picnic or you're going to the track or something, you could stock up there. You don't have to go to Price Chopper. So in Chris Martell of Druthers, I don't want to say everything he touches is gold, but that guy and his brothers and his people that he associates with have a really good track record with a lot of different businesses. So I sense that this is going to be right sized and right focused. And you can feel it already. And some guy grabbed me who was on the management team, who I peripherally know, and he said to me, you got to try the hot dogs. They're insanely good. And I was like, whoa, they actually have like the Stewart's hot dog things going, but they're made in Troy. They're top quality hot dogs. They're not the nitrate free stuff I give my kids.
Well, so piggybacking on that, I also have some other business news. I don't know if you guys know this, but on Phila Street where the Tailgate and Party store is?
Yes.
Used to be formerly the Four Seasons store. So the Tailgate and Party store is going out of business. The woman who owns it is lovely. She's wonderful. She's decided to kind of retire the store and go on to do something else. Well, it is going to be reopening as Mittler's. Steve Mittler told me this and told me I could talk about it on the podcast. He's basically opening what's essentially going to be a convenience store there, that has candy, drinks, snacks, like convenience store stuff. And then there's going to be kind of like on the upper level. He was very specific in saying not tapas, not small plates, but appetizers. Lots of kind of lower priced but like yummy looking appetizers and beer.
There'll be a kitchen in there.
Some kind of kitchen, yes.
Yeah, Four Seasons had a kitchen. I don't know if
Four Seasons had a kitchen.
When it was,
yeah. But I've like freaked out about this news because I know this sounds ridiculous, but living on Caroline and Circular, say it's like 8:30 at night, 8 o'clock at night, even 7 o'clock at night, and I want to get a Diet Coke. I am SOL unless I'm walking like all the way up to Storts. It's kind of like weird. Like I wanted like a bodega in our neighborhood for like ever and ever and ever. And what he was describing sounds like that, but like much bigger and more comprehensive. And I think that is just exactly kind of the thing we need in downtown to serve some of the Lower Caroline, Lower Phyla neighborhoods.
When I lived in Poland, they had a little market almost on every street corner, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
We've talked about before, Robin, about how great having a little neighborhood market where you get bread, milk, eggs, or other essentials. And for whatever reason, either Storts is too far away or doesn't fit. I mean, Storts is great for milk, bread, and eggs, but I don't know. They kind of missed the mark on the other. The prepared food's not great there. I love Storts as a company. Don't get me wrong; it's a great, really fun company. But just having a kind of locally owned place where you can go and get nitrate-free hot dogs from Troy, as a snack, or it's kind of a small plate appetizer, and you can walk there. I think it just makes it really add to the city. So looking forward to both of those. Yeah,
and he's gonna have like old-fashioned candy and stuff for kids, So I mean, my kids are freaking out about it. They're so excited.
It sounds like an old-fashioned Five and Dime or an old-fashioned drugstore, right?
Yeah,
counter,
right.
In Back to the Future, when he's sitting at the counter ordering a soda or something. That sounds really good. I hope it does. Well, do you remember on Railroad Place when the guy that owned the not gelato shop? Anyway, he had a cookies and milk place over there.
Oh, I miss cookies and milk. So that was connected to Plum Dandy, though, and Plum Dandy went bankrupt. So that's why cookies and milk went away. But cookies and milk was so cute.
Yes. Oh, Adam,
real quick, I got to hop off in 2 minutes. But I want to talk about, and Robin, I know this is something being in the political arena for a while. Lawn signs. What's the lawn signs do you like? What lawn signs do you not like?
Wait.
Where do you guys fall on lawn signs here?
I really want to rank the lawn signs, and I have my rankings. But you guys, I want to save it for next week because I want to put up the images so you guys can see the lawn signs as I'm talking about them.
That would be good. All right.
When you're not in the car in the Adirondacks?
When I'm not in the car in the Adirondacks.
But jump off with stay tuned next week for our lawn sign breakdown. But anyway, guys, take it from here. You guys next week.
All right. Over and out, Adam.
Adam, take care. Robin, I want to switch to one more topic. You and I briefly spoke about this as well. Robert Millis, who's been a guest on the show at least a couple times, kind of a visionary, can run an event like very few others. He is the spirit. He was the one that started the reincarnation of First Night Saratoga, which was no longer First Night. It was a very different kind of event with national bands and so forth. Well, he announced this year's First Night, or not First Night, the New Year's Eve, the New Year's Fest, and he's taken it to a 2.0 level from what he did last year. He's building on the success of last year, and it was successful. I did have somebody attend on my behalf. They made a little money last year, and this year they're making it even better. It seems he has more national acts. Joan Osborne, one of them. For the first time ever, I'm going to sing "What If God Was One of Us." And you do it better. You're
on the bus.
Yes, you're
way home. I'm a bad singer, but I know that song totally. Bob is going to be. He's going to drop dead. It's a person I know, a musician I know.
Yes, and she's Grammy nominated 7 times, as well as another Grammy nominated Robert Randolph, who I confess I'm not familiar with, but he has quite the following. He's one of the most. He's a 10 times Grammy nominee. He's both gospel, blues, and rock. And I guess he's a pedal steel guitar, virtuoso. And a lot of neat things, not just bands, though. I'm sorry, what's that?
Oh no, I said I didn't even know what that means, but it sounds great.
Yeah, he's gonna have comedy this year. I've got myself a bunch of notes here that I wanted to read off of here. He's gonna have a classic rock tent for those of you that can't get enough Eagles and Van Halen. That means you, Robin. Country line dance room, right. Some local acts.
Where's my rap?
That he doesn't have, at least not based on this, but it does look like he's got a lot of national bands with a very diverse lineup. Let me say that. I can't exactly say DJ Logic is perhaps. I'm looking here. He's got, of course, the 5K run, the fireworks, the block party. Good for you, Robert Millis. I'm excited. My kids are a little older now, and hopefully, if it's not sideways sleet and then 12 degrees out, I can get my kids there.
Dan, we should also mention that part of the proceeds this year are going to go benefit Shelters of Saratoga.
Thank you. Thank you for catching that.
Yeah, which is so awesome. Shelters is such a great organization, and I really love that they made a little money last year, and then he's deciding to tie in a charitable element. I just think is awesome, and no better organization to support than Shelters of Saratoga. So that's amazing.
Yes, and here I do have some of it here. 10 plus local acts, classic rock 10 comedy show, dance showcase. So Robin, there we go. You got to do your dancing there. Some non-musical acts that he's still to be announced. So he's really trying to cover it from family to some hardcore musical fans. He's got the gamut coming. They're going to come from New York City for this, right? Why wouldn't they?
Well, I mean, not if they're rap fans. Just saying.
I know he's got a wide variety. I'm not
teasing. You guys, I'm totally teasing, and I'm just gonna say in version 3, I'm gonna push hard for hip hop. But no, those things that sounds amazing. It does sound like it's almost everything to everybody, and I'm sure there's something that everybody could find and love there. And we had a great time last year. The fireworks being early were so fun for the kids. They loved it. And so I'm just thrilled that he's done this again, taken it on, because Saratoga Springs should be a destination for New Year's Eve. We should be a destination for 4th of July. We should be a destination for all these major national holidays. Like, it's Americatown, USA. You know what I mean? We should have the people coming to us, frequenting the businesses and having a great time at these type of events. And Bob Millis, his specialty is putting on these music festivals, and this is really his wheelhouse. So I'm thrilled he's taking us on again. That's awesome.
Yes, good. You want to transition to some cheers and jeers here?
Yes. Okay, so I'm just going to do a really quick one. My cheer, I have to say, guys, I'm not a camper. I don't know if you can, tell from my personality that nature and we get along sometimes, but we're not super close. I'm closer with pavement and the urban, environment of downtown Saratoga or New York City. But I'm up here in Fort Anne with the 5th grade class of Lake Avenue School, chaperoning this camping trip. And I've got to say, it is pretty spectacular and pretty special. And for everyone who makes this trip happen for these kids, I have to give them a huge shout out. And I know I'm talking about a really limited audience here, but it's really incredible what they do to get these kids up here. We're here for 3 full nights, 4 full days, and it's pretty incredible. And just going to cheer myself because not only did I set up a tent, but I slept in a tent. I've had some encounters with nature. I've pushed through. Nothing's getting us down. We're having an awesome time. And so just cheers for camp for the 5th graders and for everyone who makes this happen.
Good for you. I know. And it was cold last night. Down here it was cold.
Oh, it was cold.
What did you know temperature? What it got down to?
It was about 45. Yes, I know the exact temperature. It was like 45.
Okay, because it was even colder here in Saratoga this morning. It was down to 41. I bet you at 5 a.m. when you were still sleeping.
It was probably colder.
It was probably colder.
Yeah. But I also have to say, excuse my appearance. I can't really tell what I look like right now. There's no mirrors here. No showers have been had. So I apologize if I look a little rough around the edges at the moment.
Your camp. We're happy you got on. You didn't have the best cell phone coverage and Wi-Fi and so forth. So you're here. I've got a one cheer, and they call Saratoga the August place to be, and this been trending in a expanded direction now. It's becoming the October place to be. Fall here in Saratoga was always really good, but it's just there's so much going on. There's so many options every weekend, and it could be just as simple as hiking. We hiked on the Spring Run Trail over there, where the quality hardware store is, and the beverage store, and the Saratoga Awesome Dogs. I got to give them a shout out.
I love Awesome Dogs.
That trail is so nice. I haven't been on it for 15 years. I never went on it with my kids because they're 10 and 6. And we had the nicest trail walk right here in downtown Saratoga after we went to the Pumpkin Fest on Saturday. Then we went to that trail, I believe, on Sunday. But fall in Saratoga is my one cheer here. So I'm going to transition. I don't have a jeer. What I have for is a challenge to the one Saratoga, and I know Michelle Madigan's been the spirit behind that. And the challenge is to no matter what happens this election, November 7th, hang out and become more than just a line that appears.
What would you like it to become? As a founding member and current member.
I didn't know that. I'm sorry. I wanted to see I wanted to be an honest broker here in the city, addressing almost like an editorial board, if you will, addressing things that whether it's city hall functions, city council functions, and so forth. I'd like to see it stick around because really it hasn't in midterm, in middle of elections where there's not anything going on. Once Saratoga's not been around, I'd like to see it have a website that's always updated, maybe its own committee, and maybe it's no longer a political line. Maybe it's just that honest broker role that it sort of finds itself in to sort of, again, similar to an editorial board that we don't have in this town since the demise of the Saratogian. So I would like to see something like that. You, Adam, and I do that to some degree with our, but we sort of bring our biases to it, and that's okay because we acknowledge it. But I'd like to see something like that, the equivalent of an editorial board, since we don't have a newspaper. So that's a challenge to you, Michelle, and anyone else that's involved with.
I love it.
That November 8th still be an entity in this town.
I love that challenge, and I have lots of thoughts on it, but we'll talk offline about it. But I love the challenge, and challenge accepted.
Okay, cool. And I knew you were on it. I didn't know your role that you were a founding member. So thank you. That's awesome.
I was. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, it was. I really believe in city over party. So go one Saratoga.
Exactly. That's why. Yeah, that's the point. It's city over party, and we should all be signing on to that. That's why maybe at some point it'd be best to not be an electoral line and just be an entity that is for the good of Saratoga.
Well, my personal goal would be to have nonpartisan elections in Saratoga. I think that should be the ultimate goal. Why do we elect with Republicans and Democrats when really the issues facing Saratoga aren't partisan? The city council doesn't vote in partisan blocks. Anyway, conversation for another time.
Okay.
I got to run
back
and go
next
back
week.
to camp.
Wait a minute. We didn't mention, by all accounts, the Darrell Mount civil trial against the city.
It's starting on October 2nd.
That's Monday.
That's Monday.
Now, but it's funny. I tried reaching out to confirm with a few people that would know on the court website. It's listed as
confirmed. I confirmed it.
Okay, but there's some indications where it might be delayed. The Times Union was a little vague, almost purposely vague in one of the articles. Maybe it's since been updated. But that's going to be big news. I will probably be attending in my role as Saratoga Report to live tweet from, obviously not inside the courtroom, but afterwards and so forth.
I spoke to one of the attorneys about it a week and a half ago, but I'll try to touch base again and see if there's any update for you, Dan. But from what I understand, October, it starts on Monday, which is wild.
Wild. It always seems like it was put off. Excellent. Well, we'll certainly have something to talk about next week. Wednesday, folks. Wednesday at noon. Robin, you usually sign us off? You want to sign us off here?
Yeah, I'll sign us. Well, actually, I think you might have to take us off live, but I will sign off myself and go back to these wonderful campers. It was so good to see you, Dan.
Okay. And folks, thanks for watching. We appreciate that. Take care.
Bye.